This screencast is going to go over today's topic of how borders are created. And this week, you're actually going to go into the factors that we should consider when determining borders between different regions. So I'm going to be going over slides 3 through 7 specifically to focus on physical features and how they help with creating boundaries, and also man-made features. With today's lesson, you will be ultimately watching a video to answer a question for a discussion post. The video was created by a Delaware student, and he discussed why does Delaware exist. And in it, he comes with very good information explaining how Delaware received its borders, its boundaries, how it became a state. When creating boundaries between regions, we use either physical features or man-made features to create them. These physical features come from our natural landscape of the earth. So things like your rivers, mountains, deserts, oceans, they're used as barriers between different places. Now, man-made borders are the real or imaginary agreed upon boundaries, such as walls, military guard, longitude and latitude lines, and or treaties that have been agreed upon, and they decide where the boundaries will be. In the visuals, I wanted to show you examples of both physical features and man-made borders. So these physical features here is a mountain range, and this mountain range divides the Dominican Republic and Haiti. This physical feature is what creates the border. Now, another type of border exists where you have a man-made border of longitude or latitude lines. This is a latitude line that separates the border between Canada and the US. And as you can see here on the map, what that will look like. Man-made borders are usually very straight lines. They just cut across the landscape, where physical features, you notice they're going to not be as straight. They're going to be more jagged because they follow along the border of a physical feature. Now, things that we should consider when using physical features as a boundary. Questions come up like, how do you properly create a boundary line in between a mountain peak? Or should the boundary lines be placed in the center of bodies of water? And then what happens if those bodies of water change their course, or if something happens to that physical feature where it actually alters that border? These are the type of things that should be considered when drawing up borders, because they definitely will impact the people in that region. Examples of borders based on physical features is here we have in Europe, you have France, and their border, their boundary is the Pyrenees Mountains with Spain. Now also in Mississippi, in the United States, you have the Mississippi River that creates a boundary for many states. Now, when discussing man-made boundaries, these are the boundaries that come from people making a decision on whether to use latitude or longitude lines, an artificial barrier like a wall or a fence, or even military guards standing watching, like they have in between the borders of North and South Korea. The advantage with these type of boundaries that they're very clear, they're clearly defined, you know where they are, you can see them on the map, or you can see them physically. However, the disadvantages or some of the concerns that come from these type of boundaries is that they can be established often ignoring the people who live in that region, cutting across complex human cultural activities, whether it be religion, language, ethnic background, economic activity. If a boundary is created and it doesn't consider those things, that region can actually be prone to instability. Also, keep in mind that political boundaries change, all right? Not just because of a physical feature change, but political boundaries can change over time due to things like war or treaties, new agreements, or even trade relationships. Examples of borders based on man-made features. Here we have a map of a treaty that occurred between the United States and Mexico. A border was created at 42 degrees north latitude. You have a longitude boundary line. And then here, although they are using the Great Lakes within here, a part of the border, this border was established under the Treaty of Paris in 1783. I want you to keep in mind these considerations when we have created or used these type of borders throughout the world. You'll be now watching the video on why does Delaware exist. While watching that video, you should think about the boundaries that we have. Over here in Delaware, we obviously have man-made boundaries, but we also have over here a physical features boundary as well.